live and we're going to clean some fountain pens. Let's see what actually happens here. This should be one of the most sketchy Twitch streams I do. There's a high probability of mishaps. So we'll see how this goes. We gotta wait a few minutes to get rolling properly, get some people here in the chat room, get everyone to show up, get some questions going. Before we get started, we'll talk about this whole setup here. But right now we're just gonna hang out for a few minutes, give everyone a minute to get in here. So I should probably send out another message on Twitter, and then we'll get going. Trying to get a good example of all the different types of filling systems going. So in the chat room, hey Evelyn, glad you made it. We're gonna give this a few minutes, give everyone a chance to come in. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I've moved around so many cables and wires today. Hopefully we're gonna have a good stream. You know, do I clean pens often? We're gonna talk about that today. EF test, and I appreciate the follow. Thank you so much. I've actually gone the longest I've been cleaning. Kind of the longest time frame I've been without cleaning pens right now. Hey Tony, thank you Evelyn. And I know the video could be a little bit bright. I don't have a perfect situation today, but we'll get it going here in a few. Breathing RGB, let's go. Yeah, my colors are probably highly blitzed today. It's really light. I mean, the lighting is bright because the lighting is dark outside and I don't have studio lighting in Studio B yet. Welcome K-Core, appreciate you being here. We're going to talk about fountain pen cleaning today. This is now called the Pen Addict Fix. So thank you to Miguel who came up with that name. We had a bunch of discussions around the dedicated Pen Addict streams that I'm going to do on Twitch and upload over to YouTube for safekeeping. And yeah, I decided on the Pen Addict Fix. It's nice and neat, and we can do different things with it, and it's kind of a nice fun play on words. And y'all get to see my keyboard phase in and out of its colors while we do this, because I'm pretty limited on space. I kind of need my keyboard and access. I will take back and take a picture of this as we get going later, just because the probability of disaster is extraordinarily high. This is a very tenuous setup and situation right now. So we'll give everyone a few more minutes, get some more, give everyone a time to get in, and then we'll talk. You know, I'll repeat myself here several times in the beginning. Punky, you don't even know the half of it. I am literally pinned in pretty much the size of this cutting board, which I just realized is now upside down for this stream, but oh well. I almost started the stream without my microphone, so that could have been a disaster. Pinned in, yes, I did say that. But we were borderline disastrous situations. You know, we got the sideways overhead camera going, Sarah. Eventually I'll get a proper overhead so I can have a dual camera set up. Basically, I just removed the webcam from my PC monitor, put it on a GorillaPod, and here we are, and it is strung out like it's about to fall over. And if this thing falls onto the desk, there's going to be a catastrophe. So this is a high risk stream. What's up, Joe? Glad you're here. I did partake in a coffee before this stream, so I did do that. Yeah, but how are you going for an overhead tripod? Like, I'm good with this little setup. I don't know how often I'll need like the desktop. It's weird seeing me talk with my hands and without showing my face. Like, I promise you I'm here. Can I get under there? I don't know. Hi, how are you? I don't even know if I showed up. I can't see it. Uh-oh. Well, we'll talk. I have a Lamy Ion here that we can clean. We can take this apart if you want to talk about this later. So I have some few different filling systems we're going to clean today. And then I have a bunch of extra pins we can go over and talk about how they're a little bit different than some of the rest. So I think let's get this going. So I chose these 4 pins to clean primarily. And then I have a bunch of other pins, if questions come up. But I think these are kind of the main filling systems that people want to discuss. So first off, at the bottom, or to your right, we have the Pilot MeRex, which is one of the greatest pins ever designed. So it's a integrated nib. If you're not familiar with this pin, it's one of my personal favorite pins. That's why it's currently inked up. And you'll see right now I have more pins inked than I've ever had in years. So it's time for me to clean some of these out, even if I haven't gone through all the ink that you'll see when I open this cartridge up. So this is a cartridge converter fill. So I have a cartridge in this one. So you probably can't see it because I keep swirling it around, but I've used more than half, maybe 2/3 of this cartridge. You'll see it kind of spreading out there. The lighting is pretty bad. And yeah, TJ, and y'all keep the questions coming in the chat room. I'll be picking some up as we go through. So as I go through this, y'all let me know. That Twisby Go is going to be an interesting one. We'll probably do a whole video just on that. Yeah, shark pins will keep you busy. So in this case, where I have a cartridge, we'll just take out the cartridge very carefully because I still have ink in it. And you want to work with a trash can pretty nearby. I have a little cup here set to the side that I can dump ink and pens in. So since I don't have my trash can with me, my kids have the shark pens they got from Raleigh, the Raleigh Pen Show, the Pay It Forward table. So the cartridge is gone. That leaves me with this little nib section here, and you can just run this underwater. Run through this opening under the water in a faucet. Most of the time I'd be doing this over a faucet. That's not the case today, obviously. That would be an even more interesting stream, but you just run this over the faucet, get it mostly flushed out. And then what I do, and I'm going to move these pins to the side for now so I can get some more room, show you what's the key. And everyone who asks me, what do they need to clean fountain pens? You need a sink, and then you need 2 nasal aspirators. So these are the fancy ones. These are the silicone squishy ones, not the plastic ones. You want a nice squish in these. And if you'll notice, well, let me set this down. If you'll notice on these, I have one that's been unmodified, and then one that I snipped the tip of the pen off of. The traditional standard unmodified one, that goes for international converters, cartridges, pen filling systems of that size. And then this one with the tip cut off fits in Pilot. So it gets it in platinum, works pretty well, and Sailor for that matter. So you can, it gives you want to have as tight a seal as possible in this when you're cleaning it, because what I'll do is, and this is where we start to get sketchy, folks, we have a giant bowl of water. This is a Salsa Bowl. This is something you can get at like Target or Amazon. Designed by MK. Thanks for the follow. I really appreciate it. This is we're having some super interesting fountain pen cleaning time. So yeah, well, you get your booger suckers, and then you get your Salsa Bowls. I like these because I can put them down in the sink and they don't tip over. It's not a cup, like, I'm using a Solo cup as my kind of trash cup today. You can knock these over, lose nibs in them. These are good, stable dishes. I think I bought a 3 set of these Salsa Bowls on Amazon for like $6. So you booger suck up your water, and then you stick it right in here, and let's see, and then you Whoa, there goes the water. So you got to get it down underneath here, but you can see the water coming out. I got to kind of hide it in my fingers because water will go everywhere. But you can see the results of what's happening by this spraying out. Okay, so you just repeat this over and over again, and it does help to kind of pinch in the aspirator right near the grip section. Let's see. Yeah, there is no good angle to see this, but you just run this through. When you're in a sink and you have more room to play, you can really pressure this a lot, and just you want to power the water through as much as you can. You can see how much ink's come out here, and this is what it looks like. This one may not seal real well, but you can see it coming out the tip here. I'm pressing it real slow. So normally you want to see like a fire hose of pressure coming out of there. All right, so keep your paper towels handy, and I like to use a cutting board so I don't get ink in places. Water dissolved ink is not really going to do any damage, but it's nice to have something to clean up. And then what we'll do is we'll take this pen. This is where the Southern boy in me comes in handy. So we're going to take this nib. So I've run my water through it, gotten it pretty clean. We're going to wrap it in this paper towel, and then we're going to pack it. So that gets a little bit more ink out, and you can kind of rub it. You can dip it back in your water, see if you got most of the ink out. I know it had blue ink in it, and this is a blue towel, but that's what ink looks like when it's coming out, and then that looks pretty clean. And you don't have to get the nibs perfectly clean. They can be mostly clean. By the time you put a new ink in it and you flush this out a bunch and you start writing with your new pen, new ink up, it's going to come out pretty well. So that's just your basic Pilot cartridge fill. Yes, I have the clean water version over here to the side, Sarah. Normally I do have that set up when I'm going limited by space today, but I have the clean water cup for the clean water salsa bowl. So we have all the things, we just don't have room for all the things. So that's your basic cartridge converter cleaning. So Pilot MeRex, he's ready for new ink, and you can use either the cartridge or converter to fill him back up. I'm pretty particular with that pen. I use only Pilot blue black ink cartridges. It's just an old pen. I don't want to mess it up, and it's one of my favorites. So all right, next up is a very similar situation, but it brings in the other syringe. This is a Fagionato Petrarch, one of my favorite pens. This has a really neat nib on it. It has a plated titanium nib, which I've never used before. You probably can't see it flex on the screen, but it's a wonderful, wonderful nib. I definitely got the upgrade on this one when I bought it at the Atlanta Pen Show. And this one I have used up pretty much all the ink in here. This nib uses a lot of ink. It flows very well. So I think I had Sailor Apricot in here, something like that. I should keep track of that a little bit better. So this one is similar to the last one, except like with our converter, we can just take our converter, and in the blue water, you can use your fountain pen water pretty much till it's black. Like this is still pretty light for cleaning pens. Like I said, you don't need clean water with every pen. Do you dry the pens? Like, will the pens rust or something? You want to dry them pretty well. They will not rust. They'll have some, just moisture hanging around. So then you can just take this cartridge, shake it out as well. And sometimes, once you shake it out, you still get a few little dots of orange in there. So I'll just hit it again. And then, you can leave them out to air dry. That's usually like a really good scenario, is just to leave them out to air dry. So you don't want to put them away wet, that's for sure. but you can get them pretty dry before you even store them. I would even be more aggressive in cleaning them if I wasn't on stream. Like, I would flush the water really well, air them out really well, and yeah. So you can see that got pretty clean. So we'll just set that converter to the side, and that'll be used for something else. Sometimes I put the converters right back in the pen, but you don't have to. Sometimes I just keep a whole crazy big box of converters and just grab them when I need them. So I know you can't really see it, but this is an international converter feed here. So it's got a real small post for the converters to sit on. Where's that cartridge? I mean, that converter. So you can see this is a smaller opening than the Pilot was. So we're going to take our smaller standard booger sucker, and this thing fits right on to the pin. On most international pins, you can fit them right in there. It gets a nice good seal. You do want to hold it when you flush the water through because it will go flying off, but you're going to get a better seal here than ever. And I can hold this up a little because I know it's going to be tight, and you can see I'm squeezing this pretty forcefully, like with all my might. So yeah, you can hear that going through there, and then you can squeeze air through it to kind of dry it out as well. So you run that through a couple times, it'll get the ink out. So that sounds super interesting. So we'll flush this out. So one more thing you can do, man, this is some ASMR action going, hashtag. One more thing you can do with this type of pen that, you know, depending on the maker, you can see I still have some extra cleaning to do on this pen after that. So I would flush it several times through there. What you can do is you can now unscrew this nib unit, and you can clean out the feed even more. So I would be running this through the faucet, through you know, just how to get it more clean, more as clean as possible, especially with this nib and feed. A lot of ink gets behind this one, and then you can even squirt water through these feeds, but really, I mean, through these sections, but you can really just run this through the faucet. That works pretty good. Dulce a banana, thank you for the follow, appreciate that. So I'll just dry this off a little bit. This one I'll probably have to go back afterwards and clean a little bit more. You know, I don't want to spend all day just on this one nib, but I do like this one cleaner. And this one's probably a good candidate for my brass shim, which you can see sitting here on the cleaning mat. See, I'm still getting a lot of ink. So you could even go further with this one. I don't know if we'll do this today. Well, we will do it today. You can pull the feed out of the feed collar, and you can see I got some ink gunk up here on my nib, but that should just wipe right off. So you can see that just came right off. It's just dried up ink. And then you have so we got the feed, the nib, the feed collar, and the section. The most amount of disassembly is where I want to be with my cleaning. So we need to clean this feed off a little bit more because he got a little wet. Dry the pen before inking it back up. I would dry it as much as possible. But even if you don't get every last drop out, once the ink starts flowing through, it'll work pretty well. So this is getting crazy clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch paper towels. I use shop towels. These are highly durable, not so destroyable paper towels. They're more expensive, but I just use them for pen cleaning. So we've got this feed collar. We'll give it a little rinse. Tap it out. You can see we got a little ink in there. So yeah, the Lamis are a little bit tougher to disassemble completely. Sometimes I'll take the nibs off, but you know, generally I don't, but they are a little bit tougher to clean. So the nib came out good. I do have the extra towel here for messes. And then we'll just reassemble this feed. These just pop in and out. So you just line up the feed and the nib, just like so. And then we will slide this back on. Here, let me give you a better angle. I'll just slide this back on. You can find the spot that it goes in. You might have to rotate it a little bit to find the exact spot. The lighting is super difficult to see. So it's on the back side here. So there you go. You can just slide it back in like that. So there's usually a little, like this one has a flat spot in it that you line up to slide back in. Some of them have a notch where you can slide back in. But this is now ready to go. And then we'll put it right back here in the grip section. Just like so. All right. So TJ asks, Brad, what is your stance on pin flush? And it's a good product that I would only use in the most extreme conditions. That's the way I look at pin flush. Like I have some, I don't use it on my modern day-to-day pins that I'm cleaning like this, unless for some reason I've left them in an obscenely long amount of time. Also, it is something you can make on your own. So there's a recipe for pin flush on the internet, because everything is true on the internet. You can search that. It's just a few household cleaning items, like 1 part ammonia, 10 parts water, whatever the mix is. Look it up online and you can make it yourself without having to buy it. The trick, which I found later with the pin flush, is you're not supposed to empty it out the bottle. You're just supposed to keep using the bottle until it looks like this, like until it's pitch black, and then you throw the bottle out. You can keep using the same bottle for years and years. That's supposedly how you're supposed to do it. So after I did it the first time, I was told I was doing it wrong, so I learned that. All right, so those are 2 of the most basic cleaning pins. The next one up is a piston filler. So this is a Pelican M101N. I think they called this one bright red. This is the one I picked up at the Arkansas Pin Show. Had the nib ground down to, it was an extra fine Pelican German nib, and ground all the way down into probably a Japanese fine. It's not crazy fine, but it's pretty fine. So Pelicans are wonderful to clean. I actually have a decent amount of ink in this, so I'm going to dump it off into my trash cup here real quick. So, but it's just a matter of unscrewing the piston knob, and this will all make sense when I put some water in it. You'll see it if you're not familiar with a piston filler. So I just basically dump the ink out there, which I would normally do that in a sink. So just run the faucet, dump the nib, dump the ink out through the piston, and then run it through the water. Here you'll see this is going to get this bowl really dark because it was mostly full. This Pelican's probably about the easiest to clean, and then anything with the international converters are usually easy to clean. It just depends on the nib unit sometimes. Like I have a bunch of Edison pens and they use Yovo nib units. I find getting the ink out of the back of those really tough. So Edison, Yovo uses Yovo. Franklin Christoph uses Yovo. So those nib units are generally tough. So you can see, I should have shown you a little bit better, but you can see the ink window. Now this is filled with water. Even though it's dirty water, you can tell it's much cleaner than when it had the ink. And this is a tinted ink window as well. There it is. So that's the clarity of it behind the pen. So you can see these Pelicans are super easy to clean. So it's just got some leftover water in it, which isn't bad. We're going to flush this out a couple more times. And you can see the water going out. Now, you don't have to do this, but Pelican makes life extremely easy for cleaning. That's why I love cleaning my Pelicans. Hey, Oscar. So you can see this was blue-black ink, and you can see they're only seeing the color of my dirty water now in here. That's how easy these are to clean out. But one thing that they do to make it even easier is Pelican nib units unscrew. Just like, Tony, you're getting ahead of me here. That's why I have all this out. So Pelican's nib units just pop right out just like that. They're great little, easy to clean nib units. The threading is good. Everything is so solid. It's a rock solid pen, rock solid nib unit. And then when you get something, if for some reason you leave it in here a really long time, you can take the syringe, and I call it power washing or pressure washing. So you can see, or you probably can't see, the opening here is really wide. So you can get, with this pen, you can get a lot of water in here with a needle. This one's wide enough to where you could probably just run it under the sink, but some of them just have a little small hole in it. So what you'll do is you'll just take it, and if you feel like, up here towards the top of the piston, you got some bad ink stuck in there, you can just pressure wash it out, and then you can just shake all the water out of here. So this one's a really wide opening in this 101. Some of them have just a little pinhole opening, like Aurora's have a little smaller pinhole opening, but I like getting that in, getting this syringe in there, and you can just gun it. I mean, you can really I could just pressure wash out. The other thing I use that syringe for is the Pilot Con 70 converter, which I don't think I have one here today. That thing's notoriously hard to clean, so I will use a syringe to clean that out. So even with my dirty water, you can see how clean this had Pelican blue black ink in it, and it's completely clean now. You're just getting, the dirty water. You could flush this out if you're using a bunch of dirty water. Just run this under the sink. I don't have the perfect setup here today. I'm turning my fingers orange, dipping it in and out of this water. But yeah, this one's really good. So we'll just screw this guy back in. This one's good to go. Like you can see, the ink window now is really clean. I mean, it's yellow to begin with. That's not ink related. That's just design related. And I love this little pen. So I'll have to figure out what to ink it up with next. So that's that. All right, the next one, and not the last. We'll fill up. We'll clean some more. This one's a little bit. This one's an easy to clean, but it takes some effort. So the Pilot Custom 823, if you followed me for any length of time, you'll know this is one of my favorite pens. I've used it for, I don't know, a year and a half now, pretty regularly. It's almost never uninked. It's a vacuum filler, so it has this long piston bar in the back of the pen. And let me go ahead and uncap this here. And it has I call this a blind cap that just unscrews, and you just pull. I still have some ink in here, so I'm not going to push that back in, or it'll shoot all over my computer. So this is how you fill and clean a vacuum filler. You will just put this in the water and just pump it up and down as you go, and it'll get all this ink out. So I'll use most of this ink in here, but we'll just do that. You can see that pulling in, you can actually see it fill when I just did that here. You can tumble it a little bit and then expel it back out. So you have to do this a lot of times to get it very clean. I can get all the ink out of there, but it involves a lot of pumping and a lot of shaking. So you have to do this a lot of times, and you're not going to see it get crystal clear here because of my water. But you can see, as bad as this water looks in this bowl, it's not crazy bad in the pen. So that's why I continue to use the same water over and over again. But I will eventually get some clean water to go through this. So this does take a lot of time. Sometimes I will get it filled like this with the water, seal it off, and then you give it a good shake a few times, get all of these areas cleaned out as much as possible. So you can see that You don't really want to get inside of these pilots very much. Like, you're not taking off the nib units and, you know, pressure washing up in here with a syringe or something. You can see the water coming out here. So you can give it a few extra pumps. Then I'll shake it out a little bit in my paper towel. So you can see, even though it was an orange ink, it wasn't a dark ink. You can see here, Tony, I got this pretty clean, I gotta say. You know, so it's a lot of shaking, a lot of shimmering, a lot of dancing to get these cleaned out. So what questions y'all have about cleaning? I didn't show you my brass shim. I said I was gonna do that a second ago. I'll do that right now. And I'll pick out some of these other pins to clean. So yeah, this one's pretty good. What I can't get with the 823 Tony is I can't get it all the way dry. I'll leave this open for days because I do like the barrel to get dry in here, but it's always sealed one way or the other. You can see how tight this seal is. It's just been pushing itself back. So this is really great pen. All right, so let's put this one up, and I'm gonna show you the shim on that titanium pen that I was talking about. So what the shim is for, if you're unfamiliar with a brass shim, I mostly need them on finer pens. When you get paper, I don't always use them during cleaning. I use them more during general use. Like if I find that I'm using an extra fine pen and get a little bit of paper or, you know, kind of, I don't know, any little fibers stuck in there, that this shim comes in handy. And you can buy these from at pen shows or from fountain pen stores like Anderson pens, Goulet pens, things like that. You know, it's just a few bucks. And the idea is you get these corners really sharp and you slide them through the nib and it cleans out the tines here in the nib. So the little breather hole here, you put it in there. I'm gonna try to go this slow and see if I can catch it. Whoops, see, it goes too fast because you got to put a little pressure on it. But it's in between the tines here, and it's basically like flossing. So you can see I've got it in there good now. But this is a pretty wide nib. And this nib, like we were talking about pens that are hard to clean before, I'm gonna have to do some more work on this nib because there's too much ink hiding back behind the nib and the feed. Even though I took this one completely apart, soaked it in there, soaked it in the water, dried it off and put it back together, I still see a lot of ink coming out of this pen. So that means I have some work to do on this one. You could get a terrible paper cut with these. So, but I mean, you can see how much I've used it. This one sheet will last you forever. And if you ever break down the edge so it's not sharp anymore, you just cut along here and make you a new sharp edge. So it's really amazing. Yeah, Miguel, the 823, I'm the same way as you. I want to you know, leave it open to get it very dry on there. Oh, let's clean out the Lamy, which Joe was asking for. I don't know if Joe's still here in the chat room, but we'll clean out this Lamy. See if I can remove the nib. And I have a converter in this Lamy. So this is the Ion, which I like. I had Robert Oster motor oil ink in here, which is a crazy cool ink. I really like it. Let me see if I don't know if you can see ink colors. Since this lighting is so bright, you're probably not going to be able to see ink colors very well. But we'll see if you can tell. Yeah, it just looks pretty dark. It's going to look like black probably on there. But it's a really neat kind of brownish green color. It really does look like motor oil. So my cap does not rattle on this one. If I'm doing that, that's the clip. But my cap does not rattle here. I have a real rock solid one. Very happy with mine. So we'll take the converter out. And this one's probably long overdue from some cleaning. So let me dump this ink out. Yeah, I got a super special one. You know me, I get all the special stuff. Yeah, there was like 3 drops of ink in there, but it was all black. Like, you can tell as I'm just putting this back up, it's a dark ink. So I don't even know if you can see that. So we'll get this out of here. So Lamy converter's the same as any other converter. We'll just run it through the water real quick. And I know it's super hard to see at this angle. I can't get my hands all the way out of the way, but we'll just run this through a few times. So drawing out, drawing back in water into this. Even though it's dirty water, it's gonna make it really clean, especially compared to the ink that was in it before. So let's see. So yeah, you can see that it's pretty clean. There is some residual in there. Like, I'll probably want to clean this a little bit more and shake this out a little bit. So yeah, still some more ink in here. So you can see where I shook it out right here in the middle. That means do it some more. And it's probably time for some clean water. I just don't feel like reaching down and switching out the bowl yet. That will make for a higher likelihood of a mess, but we'll see. I might do that in a minute once I get this desk cleaned up. So let's see what this looks like now. No, it's still pretty inky. This Lamy, so this will be a good option for syringe. Like, if I can't get this thing very clean, I'm gonna shoot some water up in here. So let's see what it looks like now. You do need these salsa bowls. Game changer for sure. So I'm telling you, go to Amazon, you get like a 3-pack for $6. It's the way to go. So like Tony says in the chat room, you do this too. If you can't get your converter clean, like I mentioned about the Con 70, just load this up, load your syringe up, and you can get the syringe from, you know, the pen stores too, or the pen shows. Load the syringe up and just fire it in here. And that way you can get all the way up towards the end of the cartridge. So it's pretty clean now. It actually has a little bit of extra residue around the connector here where it makes the connection to the pen, because I've left this inked up for quite a long time. And who was it asking me before about the amount of time to clean? I think he's left. It was Yev Test. How often do you clean your pens? More often than you should clean them more often than I clean this batch. I bet this Ion's been inked for probably 3 months and I haven't been using it, so I'd want to clean it more frequently than that. If I don't use a pen after about a month, it needs to be cleaned. That's for sure, because I'm getting, I'll show you. If I push this down, you can see the little residue, maybe, that I'm getting from this, and that's just from the pen sitting in there a long time, and you can even see it at the bottom of the converter here. So I will have to work a little bit harder to clean this one out because I've left the ink in there too long. So that's something to keep in mind. So before I try to take this nib off, let me see. These just slide off, but I may not be able to grab it well enough when it's wet. Let me clean it off first. So for the Lamys, you can use either your clipped aspirator or your standard aspirator, whichever one gets down in there, because in this particular model, the connection's so deep in there, you'll make a seal no matter which aspirator you use. So let's use the wide one. We'll stick that in there. We'll see how that goes. So you can see it running through there pretty hard. It makes a really good seal. So we'll just dry that out real quick. Let's see if I can get this nib off and show you how you can get it extra clean. If I can't get this off, I can at least tell you how to get it off. So that's me just taking my thumb against the nib and the paper towel, just banging it out, because you can see how dirty this pen is, and it gets more ink out of there. So to take Lamy nibs off of the feeds, they just slide out. But sometimes you need tape. That one didn't. So it's just the way these nibs are designed. They slide on and off. So if you're cleaning, you can look and see here. You can see the back of this nib is a little bit dirty. It's hard to see. I know it's small and the lighting's bright, but you can see right in the back there, there's still ink there. That's some of the water that's sat there, but you can clean the feed off, clean the nib off, and just get it more clean than you would before. So definitely, if you're having trouble with your Lamy, you want to get the nib off of there. Remove the feed at your own discretion. I don't really do it with Lamys, even though you can. They just seem to be a little bit more finicky with that. And then the nib can slide right back on there. So you just got to be sure to get the sides of the nib where they need to be. And see, it's right back on there, just like it used to be. So this pen needs a little bit more work, needs a little bit more forcefully cleaned than what I can do here at the desk. And the reason is I've left it inked too long. So that's why I like to clean my pens pretty regularly. That's why I don't like to have so many pens inked up at once, because you end up getting lazy and letting them sit around and not using them enough to run the ink through and keep them flowing properly, and the ink tends to get gunked up in there. So use your pens or clean them. I think like 6 is my sweet spot for amount of pens inked at one time. Right now I probably have over 20. I'm not going to clean them all on stream here today, don't worry, but I have several that need to be cleaned at home. I have more to clean here if we want to. So we have an Italian Ice. We have another Pelican. We won't clean that out. That'll be exactly the same as the last one, and the last one was better because it had an ink window. This is an M405 with an extra fine nib done by Mike Masayama. You probably can't see just how fine that is, but this is where the brass sheet comes in handy. When I use this pen, it's a very delicate pen to write with. I don't even know if it's how I can show you how fine this nib is. But it's crazy fine. It's just real delicate. And so if you're writing on bad paper or just writing a lot over very inked areas, you can just run this shim through, and it gets it cleaned out from any extra fibers. You don't notice that as much as on a medium or broad nib pen, but you can see just running that through there, I pulled like that little bit of ink out, which is fine. And you can see I also splashed it a little bit on my card, but it gets it flowing well. And I don't even know, this is probably close to a 0.2 millimeter line. I don't think it's quite 0.1. Feels a little bit wider, but it's finer. It's probably my finest fountain pen, and because of that, most delicate. So I always try to be very, very careful with this one. So we can clean my bamboo pen, which, yes, that was the Thomas Hall special that got it all started, Tony. I don't know if you know that, but this was the pen, my first Thomas Hall special grind, because of all the pens that he had. So the Prometheus bamboo pen, this one may not even write right now because I haven't used it in a while. Nope, still going good. I have this is a medium nib that Prometheus sent me. Dark sucks. This is the one that takes the Edelstein, and man, it is like Loctite to these cartridges. I think I've mostly used this one. Huh? Hard to see in this lighting, but I think this one's about gone because I have a medium nib in it. And then this one, Hi Mary Beth D, which I'm sure is probably Elizabeth D or Tyler D, if I had to guess. And this is my Hanama Bay, which I keep threatening to review, so I'm probably not going to clean this one out because it has Robert Oster Blue Lagoon in it. You can see my messy handwriting. I love this pen. This is my favorite one that they've done. So I'm not going to clean this one out. I just need to use it. All right, so that's that. Any cleaning system questions? Ken Mansai, hi, how are you? Good to see you again. any cleaning questions, any tips or tricks you have that I'm missing, any other pens you want me to try to clean. The only other things that I didn't bring were probably like a one of the Edison pump fillers, which is kind of an outlier to a big degree. In cleaning, they're extremely difficult to clean. At least the old system that I had was very tough to clean. I don't have anything with a sack here. Now that I'm looking, I have a bunch more pens, so we can see what else I have here. I have the Opus with, it's the Japanese eyedropper, which is actually pretty easy to clean, but I'll show you something. This is my second fill with it. I got orange ink trapped up here in the end. I haven't figured out how to clean that out yet. I haven't tried, but there's got to be a way to clean that out. But I really enjoy these Opus pens. They're pretty cool. So yeah, Japanese eyedropper pen review coming soon. Well, thanks, Ken Mansai. And I'll have, for all those who joined late, I'll have this on YouTube later today, so you can go back from the beginning, learn what we're doing. Doggone it, Arch of Tusk. Oh, you got the profanity. But Canalea or Sailor Pro Gear, I've got some bucks burning a hole in my pocket and I'm torn. Hashtag AskTPA. Those are two pens that are so different from each other. It's almost unfair to answer that question because I love them both. I will tell you this. I use my Sailor Pro Gears a lot more than I use my Canalea pens just because of the size. So let me see if I have a Pro Gear here. Out of all the pens I brought, I might not actually have a Pro Gear inked up that I would have brought with me. But let's see. I don't. But this Platinum's pretty close to the size. Tony, would you say the Platinum 3776 is close to a standard Pro Gear size? I feels like it. That's a Pilot Custom 912. That's close to the Pro Gear size. Yeah, the only Sailor I have with me right now is a King of Pen, and that's not going to give you a good representation. So this is Platinum 3776 is close, okay, to the Pro Gear size. This is not the Pro Gear Slim. This is the standard Pro Gear size. The Pilot Custom 912, I think, is pretty close. I think it's like a tick bigger, if you're asking me, just without seeing them. It certainly feels more substantial, but it could be close. So look at those two pens. And now throw a Canalea into the mix. So you can see the size difference in all those pens right there. I think that's why I prefer the Pro Gear. Gun to my head, you're going to make me pick one of these because I use the Pro Gear more, right? So it's a more usable pen. I'm not going to throw this in my pocket and, go out on the town, but I'll throw a Pro Gear in my pocket because it's not as big a honking pen as this. I have two of these Canaleas. I don't really need another one right now until they, tempt me with some awesome new material like this. But I would buy another Pro Gear. So uncapped, the Pro Gear, and the 3776 are the same size. So yeah, let's look at this uncapped here. So here's the 3776. See if we can get these not to roll. And here's the Canalea pen. That's pretty close to right on the same width size. And here, this 912 might be closer than I thought it is. This 912 is really close to the Pro Gear size, which you can see it's close to the 3776 size now that I lay them out next to each other. So yeah, clubbing literally, like this could be a club and go to the club. So it is good for both of those things. But this material is awesome. Like, I wonder if I should sell my other Canalea because I like this one so much more. And my other one's pretty rad too. So, yeah, I think, I don't know if that helped Architusk. So, yeah, I mean, it depends on what you want to use it for. If you're going to keep the pin at the desk and use it at your desk all the time, I think you might enjoy the Canalea. I love using my Canalea pin. My Canalea pin never leaves the house. Does that make sense? And I do like the Pro Gear barrel more than the 3776 barrel. It's a little bit heavier. I don't know if it's wider, maybe a tick wider. But the platinum nibs are pretty amazing. So then you can save up for this, which is my Nakaya. So I have this one case, Brasstown case, where I keep all my favorites in. And because I keep them all linked up here. This is going to roll. He's not going to want to behave. But that's my Nakaya portable. That's the pin I let everyone use when I go to pin shows. This is Aotamanuri. See ya, Joe. This was the nibs.com exclusive that they no longer make. So it's the black with the blue-green undercolor. So Aotamanuri or Aotamanuri, however you want to pronounce that. Best pin, best nib I own. This PO nib, Pilot Custom 912, is probably about second. So the top 5 pins is pretty strong with me. So it's those two, this MeRex, and then I don't know. I could probably pick a couple other things. But yeah. Hecky. Yeah, the portable is a great size. I love this size. All right, so review-wise, we're going to do the 3776 pretty soon. We're going to do Hanama Bay pretty soon. I owe a review for the Opus Picnic pretty soon. These pins we're just going to keep up. And let's see, what else do I have here? We have my, oh, look at me. Look at me. I had one more pin case buried there. Architusk, you still there? Look at what I pulled out. So that's the Ocean. That's the Pro Gear Ocean, and that's Hanama Bay. I didn't see that pin case that was buried there. So you can see a little bit of the size comparison there. So that's your standard Pro Gear length. That's the Canalea pin length. Zipper pulls, I don't know. I need to make some more. I have the materials, I just haven't made them. We'll bring some for DC, maybe. And then here's the uncapped sizes. Let's see if I can get these to say still. So uncapped, there's your size difference. So like I said, yeah, that Ocean's pretty awesome. It's growing on me. Like, I liked it when I got it, but I didn't love it. Like, I love a lot of pins. Like, I super liked it. The more I look at it, you know, when you put it side by side with this pin, you just need to get them both, right? Yeah, Sailor will always get you on the color. That's for sure. So, yeah, you can tell there's a really big size difference between the two. And even the limited edition colors like this one still be cheaper. I don't know if the price is an issue, but you're paying a lot for the Canaleas. You're going to start at $400 with a steel nib. And even this one that's a limited edition, I think it costs me $320 with a gold nib. So, you know, and I got a nib grind from the Nibsmith. So if you're looking from a value perspective, I got a little more value, if you will, but it's you can't match this in style. So just depends on what you're going for. Yeah, I can't argue with that. Cherber 5. I can't argue with that one bit. Like, I preach that a lot. If you find a $3 pen that works amazing for you, there's no reason to spend crazy money on a pen. You know, if you're just concerned about the writing experience and how much you enjoy a pen, the Platinum Preppy 02, which is their extra fine nib, is amazing for the price. For like a $5 pen, that pen writes as good as anything. That's where a lot of people, you know, start into, you know, ramping up from a gel ink pen into a fountain pen. That's one of the first ones I tell them to try. And that's how they can decide, well, do I like a fountain pen or not? You know, and without spending a lot of money. And sometimes that pen is so enjoyable it just sticks, and there's no need for, you know, the $300 or $400 fountain pens. So sharp pens are pretty great. You know, they allow you to load up all 200-300 of your inks at once for about $1.50 a pen. So they're pretty fun. The Preppy's an amazing pen. I recommend that pen all the time. It's a wonderful writer. The problem is, you know, then you get into, well, I've got the Preppy. What's the fancy thing I can do? Well, I upgraded to the PO nib, the 912 PO nib, pretty quickly, and you're probably not going to be able to see this on camera, on here or not, but I love this pen. This is super fine. Later, Tony. Thanks for stopping by. So I love how fine this is. So the PO is called a posting nib. It's probably like a 0.2, 0.3 millimeter gold nib. It's fine and firm. Just love it, love it, love it. No, but it's not going to leave too much longer. It's not going to last too much longer. Unless y'all have any questions, I can keep breaking out pens and keep writing with them, like this Nakaya. This is my favorite nib. And I know the angle's not great on this, and the lighting's not great. I don't even know if you can see this because I don't have it full screen. But this is a fine cursive italic, and you can see how nice it makes my handwriting. Love this pen. Posting nib was designed for the Japanese to write postcards with, so they need something firm and fine to fit a lot of words onto one space. So it's got this hook. It's kind of like a beak downturn. I don't know if you can see this in the camera or not. Let me embiggen this camera so I can see what you're looking at and see if you can even see it. So yeah, I know y'all are having a tough time seeing this. I know you can't see it. The lighting's too bright here for the white cards. So, but it's designed to write very fine letters, kanji, and to do it on poor quality paper, like a postcard that might not be fountain pen friendly. So it writes really nice and fine. So it's really, really cool. Man, I did a good job. I got mostly orange ink on my hands today, so I'm not jaundiced. I know the lighting is a little bit bright, but it's just the orange ink. So, you know, this is the remnants of our inkiness today. So we can probably put all this, like all this gets trashed. So, what other questions y'all have today? We can do anything. We're good with the fountain pen cleaning. Gosh, I guess we're still getting nibs caught by the auto mod here. So needlepoint, FCI, or SIG on a Fountain Christoph 65 next show, whenever that may be. Can I ink the piston filler I cleaned? I can't because I don't have an ink bottle here, but it doesn't really need more dry time. But, you know, next time we'll leave it uninked, and I'll ink up some pins. But it's super simple. You just drop the piston down. You can see it moving right there. So you just drop the piston all the way to the bottom, and then you're going to dip this into the ink up to right above the section. So I can show you in this water about how far you need to dip it. It's about like right there, and then you'll just draw it up, and you can see it filled it up right there. Pelicans have some of the best pistons going. Allows me to just play around with them like this. Yeah, that's the alternate way to get a posting nib, is you drop the pin on the floor and it bends. So yeah, that's great. Are some fountain pens more airplane friendly? That's a good question, because the answer is yes, and I have one of them right here. So your vacuum filling system pens, where'd my 823 go? So the way this pen works, all right, so it's cleaned out right now, but the way it works, I want to show you this one part in here. So this is a stopper, and to fill the fountain pen, we're going to pull it all the way back. We're going to depress it down, and you hear that snap. When it snaps, it pops this seal, and all the ink fills it up here. But what that also buys you, when you screw this stopper down, I don't know if you can see me getting it all the way down, right here, it seals off the barrel. So there's a tight seal now between the ink chamber and the section. So you have ink up here to write with, but in an airplane, this ink doesn't have anywhere to go. So then when you land and when it's time to write, you just crack this open a little bit. It opens up the seal and the ink starts to flow in there again. So vacuum filling pens are great to travel with. That's a great question. And just for airplane travel, I have good luck with pretty much any pen, as long as you keep them mostly completely inked and upright. So I store my pens upright. I'll put them in my pen case, and then I'll put this in my seat back and keep everything upright. Yep. The Opus eyedroppers they have it's a Japanese eyedropper, so they have that sealing mechanism too. You can see the bar in here. I don't want to play with this one too much, but it does have the same thing too. So this you would be fine traveling with this. You don't have to unless you're writing for a long period of time. So if I just pick this up right now when it's completely sealed, if I had this inked, I could uncap it and I could write away just fine. If I'm writing a lot, yeah, you're going to want to open this a little bit to allow the ink to flow. So you do have to do that if you're writing a lot. But if you're just picking up for like quick notes, it'll be good. Eventually you'll have to let more ink down into the feed, but it's really not noticeable. And if you unscrew it and leave it like this, nothing's going to happen to the pen, unless you're flying with it. There's not going to be any issues that you'll have. So you'll do that for the Opus as well. I'll show you one more thing here. So this is my special. All right, Ken Mansai, have you tried the Caran d'Ache 849 fountain pen? Yeah, so it's a little bit uncomfortable. I don't necessarily use it. I didn't really like how that feels. It's not crazy uncomfortable. Some people will grip it a little bit back because of that. So that's one, if you can try, it would be great. It's not the best pen from a comfort perspective. It's a cool pen from, a design and style perspective, but it's a little bit weird to hold. So this fishy pen started off as a black and silver trim pen, and I'll tell you in a second how it got this way. This is the Pilot Con 70 converter. It's the biggest capacity, biggest pain in the butt converter. I actually fill this converter. I'm not going to pop it off now. I actually syringe fill this converter because it's so large, and it's got this weird plunger mechanism that doesn't fill all the way. It's like a button filler. It's pretty annoying. It's annoying to fill. It's annoying to clean. So it's a little bit frustrating, but the ink capacity is unbeatable. So this fishy pen was Mike Masuyama's friend special. We call it the mango pen because everyone who got these pens, so the story goes, Mike Masuyama has a friend who wanted to practice his maquille artwork. So he emailed a bunch of us to get on a list to pick out like one of 3-4 designs that he was working on and send them over to Japan through Mike and, just let him work on our pens. So I think I paid like $150, $175 for this beautiful artwork. There's the artist's signature right there. So you provide the pen, like the blank template, and this is the artwork that came back with it. And I don't think he's continuing on. Like, he did it as an experiment to see if it was a viable business option for him. We got it for an extraordinarily good price. He's already, I think, doubled the price and is not taking new work. So, like, I just paid like $150 or $175 just for this work to be added to this pen. But it's one of my favorite pens, and it was a good candidate to get this done on, and his work is phenomenal. I just don't know that he's doing it anymore. So it's basically aftermarket maquille work, and it came out amazing. So I carry with that pen's pretty much always inked up. That's one of my personal favorites for that reason. Yes, you can steal it from me at a pen show. But, back to the story. So when we shipped all these pens, we call them the mango pen because our return shipments came individually back, and they were in mango yogurt boxes, like those little, like the Jell-O pudding boxes. So, however, it was like a little 4-cup mango box. We all started getting our pens back in these mango boxes, so we call them the mango pen. So if you ever hear the mango pen come up, there's probably like 5 or 10 of us that have these. That's what we're talking about. I'm surprised Caran d'Ache is hard to find in Germany. But yeah, just they stay at home, right? But yeah, it's not that bad, but it's just a little bit weird because that section's small. And then it goes up into that faceting, that hex design pretty quickly. I would probably have to use it on the hex barrel because I grip so low. Reed relay. Could argue that composition notebooks are essentially B5. Yeah, it's a good size. I love composition notebooks. All right, you guys got anything else for me today, or we want to wrap this up and see? Like, I did a good job not making a mess. I made a mess on myself, which is to be expected when you get cleaning pens. So you want to always be careful with that. But owning fountain pens, you realize pretty quickly that your hands aren't going to be clean very often, and it's just a badge of honor these days, right? So that's what we do. So I appreciate y'all hanging out today. I think we're going to wrap it up here. I'd attempt to move my camera back to normal position, but I imagine that will not end well for y'all. It will be vertigo inducing. So we're going to shut it down for today. I appreciate y'all joining. We're going to do we might not have a Pen Addict Fix stream next week because I will be doing some traveling. But I'll be online this weekend, maybe talking about pens, maybe playing some games. So I will see y'all then. I appreciate you hanging out. Talk to you later.